this morning. We are so happy to have you guys here again for this positivity chat. We love the, communications amongst ourselves in terms of encouraging one another. We continue to foster that through these chats. And this day we have decided to focus on a topic called finding your voice. In truth, Veronica, the V-Power woman, in talking with Karen, gave us that idea and thought in terms of direction for this positivity chat effort that we've started. And so with that, I'll turn it back over to Karen to let her explain a little bit more.
So as Steve mentioned, one of the things that I love is being able to jump on one-on-one calls with everyone as we're going through. And last week I was on, I think it was last week, with Veronica, and it was so amazing. We got to talk and learn a little bit more about one another on a deeper level. And in our conversation, I was asking her thoughts about this positivity chat, some feedback. And it became very clear in, I guess, my dialogue. I kept saying, Steve and I are creating the space for people to find their voice. And she said, exactly. That is exactly what you guys are doing. And so the question we want to pose to the group to start off is, what does that mean to find your voice? Who wants to start?
I'll start.
Okay, Jen.
I think finding your voice for me was really sitting down and thinking about my personal stories and lessons that I've learned that I can share with others in order to help them potentially get through the same situation. And right now, I'll throw a question back out to all you guys. I don't know if any of you watch some of my content. I haven't done much in a while because I've actually been really sick. I had COVID, and I have been thinking about sharing that story. But for me, it's really hard just because I know there's a lot of people who don't believe in it, a lot of people who have different opinions, and that's totally fine. But there's a little bit of me that's scared to share the story, but I also think I really need to because there's a lot of unknown. So just throwing it out to you guys, do you think it's something, I mean, I think it's worth sharing. I'm just nervous about it, but I just want to throw it out there. But again, it's just, you're using your personal stories, you're sharing through your own voice, through your own eyes to help others. And I think that's what I would do, but I'm just a little nervous about it. So anyway.
Can I
would
answer?
definitely share it.
Jen, I think because, maybe we could do a conversation together because I had Corona too, but I didn't have it bad. So, there's so many, so I'm positive now, which is some people, when they hear that I have the oh my God, are you okay? Yes, I am okay. So, we could have a dialogue together. And then maybe it's easier for you to get it out, what you want to share.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, thank you.
Jen, I can't believe you didn't say this, and I'm really angry with you for not. It's believing in your truth.
I know. If anything has taught me, like everything that I've talked about in the past, it's like this one thing has just kind of made me like pull back a little bit, and I keep kicking myself in the butt, but it's like, it's a scary thing because so many people, it's like, oh, get away from me, or, oh, you didn't really have it because it's not real. So I know there's always going to be those naysayers out there. And it's just one of those things where, yeah, I have to move past it. And I'm doing a podcast on Friday, and I'm like, okay, podcast is easier because you're not on camera and people don't see you, right? So it's a little easier, but I'm getting there. I think I'm getting there because the more and more I talk to people about it, the more I realize that people are unaware of the long haul term symptoms and things. So I'm getting there. It's in my brain. We're creating it. So
good.
Okay,
Yeah.
Jen, I have a question. How long ago did you have COVID, and how long has the road back to recovery, how long has that been for you?
I'm still actually not recovered. It's 134 days today.
Wow.
I never tested positive for COVID. I have been told by multiple doctors that I did have COVID, and I'm working with a really great doctor finally after multiple doctors that it's either anxiety or it's menopause or it's this or it's that. I finally found a doctor who had COVID. He understands it. He knows I had COVID. Just yesterday, I had a debilitating, I won't say migraine. I get this numbness and neuropathy in my head and my hands still. So there's a lot of long haul symptoms that I'm dealing with. So it's a very long recovery for me. I had a moderate case. I didn't end up in the hospital in the beginning. However, I did spend my birthday in June, which was like 116 days into it, in the hospital because they thought I was having an aneurysm. So there's just all this crazy things that are going along with it. And that's why I think I need to talk about it more so people understand that there is this potential road of recovery that you need to be on, and how to take care of your body and, you know, your head, because there's a lot of anxiety that goes along with all of this through it. So yeah, 130 something days.
Jennifer, it looks like you wanted to add something. You're muted.
Yes, please share your story. In fact, my husband is an ER physician treating COVID patients every day. It's not a joke. And I think the more reality, the more stories that people share, it increases its credibility. It's almost like the corona is almost a human person. So we need to increase the credibility that this virus actually exists. And it disheartens me, it angers me, it saddens me that people are still not taking this seriously. I could go on for hours about the anger and upset. So I'm standing out the outside going, oh my gosh, how could you feel embarrassed or uncomfortable sharing it? It was real for you. And I think the more people that different socioeconomic, different cultures, different backgrounds that share it, I think everybody needs to share or take a picture. I mean, I hope to God I don't get it, but if I do, I will videotape the whole thing, because I just think we're never going to get rid of this unless we shed the light on the reality of the situation. So I applaud you, and I hope we can motivate you and encourage you and support you in moving forward with sharing your story.
Okay. Sorry, I stole this from you, Karen. Sorry.
No. Actually, you are a representation of exactly what we are talking about in terms of creating this safe space for people to open up and to share. You correctly and beautifully have demonstrated what it means to find your voice. And so now I want to, give others in the group an opportunity to share as well. What does that mean to you to find your voice?
I think it begins with the catalyst is gaining awareness. Gaining an awareness of who, what, why, and where you are. And it sounds like a simple thing, but it seems like so few people pause long enough to gain that awareness. I know I was my own victim of that. It was through that process for me that I began to recognize what my passion was. Now, my passion is what I'm doing now, but not everyone's passion is speaking. So for me, my passion led to me finding my voice. Yeah. But it all began with awareness. Mm-hmm. Taking responsibility for everything I'd gone through and recognizing that my entire past was what it was supposed to be, because it created who I am today. And I'm able to look back without regret, look back without disdain, disappointment, and just realize that everything I went through was obviously what I needed to go through.
That's good. That's good. Ariane, I'm a little bit curious. I see you listening, and I'm just kind of watching your face. Not that you're making so many facial gestures, but I'm curious because it's almost like you're listening, but I feel like there's things going on behind the window that you have some thoughts as well. Would you like to share that with us?
That was a very interesting perspective. I think you were spot on there. I think finding my voice is during this time period. I'm in transition, like so many others. I was laid off from my job. I was there for 12 years. And it was interesting because they did offer me a position in another department. And I had to make a decision of whether to stay and work in another department or leave. And it was the hardest thing for me to decide. I had a week, so it wasn't even just a day. I had to sleep on it for an entire week and had to find my voice. What direction did I want to go in? Where am I going? And it was such a process, and I chose not to stay. And now I'm in transition. It's been a very difficult time, and I think it's even been more difficult during the pandemic because you don't have that interaction. And that's why I've joined these groups. I've joined networking groups. I've joined this positivity chat to be engaged, to be around others and to hear stories and just to be able to share with others. I think it's so important. And during this time, I'm trying to find my voice again. What am I supposed to be here for? I know it happened for a reason, and I know it's a blessing in disguise. I just have to find out why. And that's where I'm going through now. That's my journey now.
Ariane, that is really powerful because you brought another aspect into this. It's easy to focus on the voice part in terms of speaking up and sharing. But in truth, to find your voice, it's also a set of actions that follows out of that voice. And, I commend you for recognizing that there were actions you needed to take. You took them. You're still in the midst of that journey on where that will potentially lead you. But all of us in our lives have had to go down that journey, which ultimately, at the end of which, may lead us to have a new voice or a different voice.
Absolutely. Lori, I'm going to call you out for the moment because there was a period, a point in time during my own journey to find my voice that you and I spent some time together. And I know that that is a passion of yours, help working with people to kind of help them get clarity. So maybe if you don't mind sharing with us, what does that mean to find your voice?
Well, I think it's several things, but I think going back to what Edward said, it begins with that self-awareness and really knowing and understanding yourself. From that clarity comes confidence, and it empowers you to see the direction you want to take and know for sure that this is the route that you're supposed to go. And for a lot of people, like with our natural talents or like Ariane with her having to make a decision, to stay or leave a job, listening to really what speaks to you, what is your desire, and what direction do you want to go. Sometimes that's making difficult decisions. And when you have that self-awareness, you really understand your values and what's, lined up with you. And so that kind of helps you have a roadmap for the direction you want to go. I mean, it's not black and white, unfortunately. It's not that clear, but it does really give you those parameters to direct and know where you want to go. And I think another part of finding your voice is, besides knowing the direction you want to go, is just feeling that confidence to speak up and speak about what you do know. Some people won't care. Some people will, shut you down. But when you are doing it for the right reasons and you're speaking about it from a place of wanting to help and serve others, then people will gravitate towards you and some won't. And I think for like what Jen was saying, I mean, I definitely 100% would encourage her to tell her story, because so many people say, well, I don't know anybody that's had COVID, so therefore it really doesn't impact me. And anytime you can put a face to it that connections see, it's real. It becomes like, oh, wow, she not only had it, but it didn't go away in 2 weeks. And I think that that's the other factor when you're talking about COVID, is it impacts everyone differently. Some people do get over it with no lasting effects. Other people who are otherwise healthy, not immunocompromised, have really had lingering effects. So I would definitely encourage you to tell that story, tag me, whoever else, to support you, because it really, I think, needs to be told. And I think that's another thing about finding your voice, and I'll shut up after this, is helping others speak up and feel confident about sharing theirs. And not everybody has that, you know, like we've been maybe in, you know, conference calls or any kind of work situation where some people are always shy to speak up. And so they depend on you to do that. And ultimately you want them to be able to share, but sometimes it's sharing and helping others, people, you know, get their message out and feel comfortable with it.
And Lori, just to add to what you're saying, I don't know how many of you know Leslie Mouton. She is a part of the Blue Angels team in terms of the Random Act of Kindness, and I'm a member there. But this last week, she lost her husband to COVID.
Oh, she did lose him? Oh my gosh, I knew he was really ill.
Steve, pass the tissues. Come on, man.
On this topic, what I feel is most difficult is that in this day and age, ignorance is a choice. And there's little remedy for the people that choose that direction. How many stories do we need to hear? Do you need to see in the news? Do you see the numbers to recognize that what the world is going through, the world is going through? Put your head in the sand, but that's a choice. With the amount of information we have surrounding us today, ignorance has become a choice. For those people, sadly, there is little help because you have to want to help yourself.
To that point, Edward, I think you're absolutely right that ignorance is the choice, but I think finding your voice also goes through different stages in life, because when you're young, you're trying to, you know what I mean? You kind of speak up and you kind of push your parents and that kind of a thing, you know, have attitudes, whatever it may be. And then as you get older, so I think it really kind of goes through stages, and then eventually you find maybe something you love, or maybe just finding your voice is speaking your mind. I mean, just speaking like Jen does, believe your truth. I mean, honestly, speaking your truth and really not caring about the opinions of others. But to your point, Edward, ignorance is absolutely a choice. But I also, you know, a lot of people have been finding their voice throughout all of this pandemic going on. They have opinions about whether or not blended school should happen or anything like that. I mean, it's insane what I see on some Facebook groups here in Staten Island. It's maddening. But the thing is, we used to be able to have conversations and have different opinions, and that would be okay. And a lot of people are finding their voice to the point of, well, this is what it should be, as opposed to, you know what, I may not agree with you, and that's fine. You're entitled to your opinion. I'm entitled to mine, and agree to disagree. Now it's, well, your opinion is wrong. So I think sometimes finding your voice can go in many different directions, and some of them not necessarily good ones in a way. Or maybe, you know what, maybe they end up being a good one anyway, but there's a lot of conflict with finding your voice also. So that happens as well.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I think with my journey on this, it's really unfortunate, but I've lost family members because they don't believe this. My boss said to my face, COVID isn't real, and he couldn't believe I was one of them because they just want my money. So yes, ignorance is a choice, but when you have someone staring you in the face who is as sick as I was, it is so hard to look at those people and respect them. So yes, everybody, and that's what I tell everybody, look, you're entitled to your opinion. If you don't believe in this, you don't believe in it. But it kills me. It absolutely kills me because I haven't made any of this up. You know, I can't make this up. And so for me to look at someone and then have them either tell me I'm lying or whatever, this has been a very, very tough 6 months because I think a lot of people are dealing with that now, and it's become political. It's become all this just crazy things when it should just be like, oh, I care about you. You're legitimately sick and I'm sorry. So it's tough, but yes, ignorance has become a choice, and ignorance is horrible right now.
Mm-hmm. Everybody becomes keyboard warriors. They're all brave behind the keyboard in saying things. And I think to what Karen said, and I know Dimitri has brought this up in previous conversations when we were talking about other topics, it's about education, and we should be able to have a conversation. And they may not agree with everything, but I'm to the point, and I had this conversation with my family this weekend. I mean, they're just like, oh, they believe in the herd immunity, and we just need to start getting things open again, and all this is ridiculous. And I just said, I'm going to agree to disagree with you, because I know differently. I know people that have been impacted by it. I know that had we handled it differently, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But I'm not going to get into politics or anything like that. It's just that with those people, I'm just shutting it down, and it's my family. I love them, but I think they're wrong, in some of their thoughts. And you just have to kind of pull yourself back from that and just say, I'm willing to have a conversation, and here are the facts. I mean, just like they're saying, well, why don't we just get a vaccine? It's like, I'm not a doctor, but I've worked in medical for enough years. I know. And when they said, oh, we'll have something in 12 months, I mean, most drugs from the time they discover a compound takes 17 years to bring to market. Now with a vaccine, it's a little bit different, but with testing and everything else, you're looking at 2 years fast track. There's not like just an easy process to do this. And, you want something that's not just safe and effective. You want something that's been tested and know that the side effects and impact is not going to be adding to the problem. So as with any topic that's out there that we could bring up that's controversial, it's never just this or that. There's always some things in between. And that's where people have to just quit being so polarized and realize that things are not just either this or that. And I'll shut up.
Stop saying that, Lori. You have
I
valid
let somebody
points.
else talk.
You have valid points, but I want to bring in Dimitri, because you're right. Dimitri, you are often, sharing about how you feel about cultural awareness and education, which really lends itself to you understanding the impact of finding your voice. So if you wouldn't mind, share with us in your own words, what does finding your voice mean?
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity. So just to share my personal experience, I would like to kind of share the chronological experience that I've had. First of all, started with my mother, including me in conversations with adults. Most of the times, parents exclude children from adult conversations. I don't mean inappropriate. I mean just adult conversations in general, because the children are children. Let them go play. My mother always gave me the privilege of staying at the table, sitting in the table while adults talked about issues and things. And so the exposure that I've received when I was a child allowed me to develop my understanding of the world from the beginning. Okay, the next phase for me was high school debate. Man, that just made me, it's like allowing me to debate with people. I think it's very important for us to expose ourselves. We should not look for comfort. We should not look for who is going to say something that we are going to agree with. I think that we grow when we put ourselves and expose ourselves, I believe. And I think in debate, they showed me how to communicate. They showed me how to look at all the aspects of things as opposed to just looking at mine. And one thing that they didn't show me how to speak loud or obnoxious or dominate a conversation. I think that the first thing they showed me is how to listen. And that's, I think, the most powerful thing. Understanding and learning how to listen. Because when you listen, you understand. as opposed to speaking without understanding. And I think that's a key thing right there. And so exposing myself, even though debate is an event and it's, you know, it's an activity, it allowed me to develop my understanding of myself, my position, my understanding of the world, and how to defend those things as opposed to just, you know, being intimidated or being overpowered. Obviously, as I've shared here, I've also had the experience of going to different cultures where I had to defend my position and had to, you know, be who I had to be. Another step that helped me find my voice was the fact that after high school, I chose to serve an ecclesiastical religious mission, and I went to Europe, which allowed me to another step in another culture, another language, and as you understand, speaking, they say that politics and religion are the things that you should never talk about. Well, I went and served a mission where I spoke 2 years of the taboo conversations. And so what did that do for me? It allowed me to understand myself better. It allowed me to be in uncomfortable positions. It allowed me to be in places where not everybody was going to agree. So I think that exposing yourself, as like, for example, many of us do in LinkedIn, is a very important step of finding our own voices, not staying and remembering. One thing very important, in my opinion, is that we should not seek to fit in. We should seek to share ourselves and understand everyone else. I think that's what makes the world beautiful. That's what makes us grow. That's what makes us understand and gain knowledge and gain wisdom. And so many of these experiences have helped me develop my voice, and I am still developing it. I think it's a process. I think it's a lifetime process. We sometimes find ourselves weak. We sometimes find ourselves with a lot of strength. Sometimes we feel ignorant. Sometimes we feel very knowledgeable and informed. So I believe that it's okay to have all those faces. And it's very important for us to understand that we don't have to fit in. We don't have to sound like everyone else. We don't have to agree with everyone, as long as we're respectful of each other's perspectives. And it's great to have positivity chats where we have the opportunity to share this kind of experiences and positions and perspectives. And that's what I believe. I believe that the more we expose ourselves, the more we practice sharing our voices, that's where we find our voices. Thanks.
Well said, Dimitri. Well said. Now, Omo, you and I, we've known each other for a while, and you know how I feel about your voice, which is very powerful. It's very strong. It's very calming. I hope you don't mind me kind of putting you on the spot. But I would love for you to share with the group, what does finding your voice mean to you?
I mean, a lot has been said, and there was one thing, I don't know exactly who said it, but it was this part of finding your voice being a process and not being something that you can dictate what it's going to be. If I look back to who was I the day my parents said, okay, we are sending you off to Europe because we want you to have a better education. If I look back to that, Omo, and I look back to what happened when we got that call saying, you know, 2 years later, your mom has passed away. And if I look, I have journaled since I was 19, and I have every single one of those journals. And what is interesting, you know, now that we're talking about your voice, when I go back and I feel like, okay, what do I want to read? And I go back to one of those years, and it's interesting to see who was Omo in that year and who was she in that other year, and what were her thoughts and what were her dialogues. And I think when it comes to speaking up, it should never be about what other people think. I think that's just the wrong place to start. I think it doesn't make any sense because people have their own individual thoughts, the way they reason, the way they are brought up, the things they believe. But you have to start with what you can represent. When you look in the mirror, what is it? What is that voice? What is that dialogue that you can say, I'm one with you? Because that's that's what's going to drive you and propel you forward in everything that you do. When you speak up, when you relate with people, when you solve a problem, that it's that voice that you use to do it. And that should always be the beginning of everything. And that's what we should be teaching people around, that, look, I have my individual voice, but I also do understand that the collective has its voice. And so how do I impact the collective that I belong to without dismissing the individual voice of others? Where is that middle point? Where is my mother used to, I remember when my mom would come home and she would bring these children who she said, okay, I would like to, this child is going to live with us. This is your new brother. This is your new sister, because she always made it a point to educate children for a year, especially if they had parents who were nomads, and the parents could always come and pick up the kids. So I grew up with a lot of sisters and brothers. And I remember how my mom would say, everybody counts, we all sit full, and it's been a great week. So everybody speaks and says, how was your week? Speak up. Not because you have to fear of fitting in, but because you see yourself. And I think that's what speaking up is. Do you see yourself, and not waiting for people to see you before you think, oh, I count? Because that's quite frustrating, I think.
Oh,
and that's what I have learned also over this period of COVID, that the person I was in March is certainly not the person that I am now. I have two family members who work with, for example, COVID patients. They've seen people recover, they've seen people die. And yes, everybody has an opinion, but I feel, and what I strive for is, if something is happening to a human, it might not be in front of my door, but it's happening to a human, so it should impact me. I should care. People have died. We've seen pictures of people being buried in mass graves. They are human. I am human, so I care. And if we can all do that, and maybe put aside this opinion of, is it right, is it wrong, is it bad, is it good? Something happened to some humans who barely said Happy New Year and did not know they would not see through to the end of this year. So it's human. And if we can focus more on that and not what I can show you and how I can one-up you and how I can corner you from the side, let energy flow in both directions. I think that's just brilliant. Yes, and now I will.
Omo, you made a great comment about journaling, and I wonder how many other people here have used journaling to help them find their voice. So, Nicole, tell us about that.
Okay, I'm on mute.
Yes.
So I haven't journaled a ton. I'm one of those who will start and then I stop, and I start and I stop. So I'm not continuous. Thank you, Omo, for being so continuous with journaling. But for me, finding my voice has just evolved. Like Dimitri said, I've continued to find my voice, who I was when I was 15, 20, 25, 35. I mean, it's very different than I am today. Journaling really helped me, as many of you know, when my mother passed away, that really helped me. While I haven't been journaling during COVID, I have definitely had just steps and processes and things that I've been doing through this time. I got really sick in January with the flu, and then I got really sick in March with God knows what. I could have had COVID, but I was sick for probably almost 2.5 months. Where I really couldn't do much. I just kind of shut myself down. I've actually shut myself down through this whole time. I am not active on any social media. I may come and see your post and engage, but I have not posted since early March. And at first it was like, oh, I'm sick and I'm just gonna not post. But then it just kind of just evolved, and I went through this chrysalis process and bought butterflies and did so many different things just to kind of help my story. So while I haven't really been journaling in the written, I feel like I've been journaling in my life of continuing to push forward a story that is just continuing to make me better and continuing to make my voice better and continuing to be heard louder without the, you know, thinking about, I call them OPTs, other people's thoughts. And so that's kind of been a different journey that I didn't see coming my way. But I went from a loud extrovert to an introvert of just wanting to hear my thoughts and figure out what my actions need to be versus I'm just gonna keep hearing all the world and what everyone's telling me what you should do and how you should do it and don't show up this way. And I finally was like, shut it down. And I have just been very, very silent, but not in the written journaling, just journaling with my thoughts internally, if that makes sense to you.
It does, and I want to commend you, Nicole. You know, a little bit interaction that we've had prior to these chats, you always came across as a very professional woman, and you still do. But I feel like I've seen growth in you, and Karen and I have even talked about that. So it's awesome to have you, you know, share with us where you're at and what you're going through, because truly, as we look inside, that's where we've got to find our voice.
Yeah.
And then as we share that, we will grow further.
I also want to commend you, Nicole, for saying one of the key words or key phrases and shut the noise down. How important is that, you know, when you're trying to find your voice, that you have to stop all of the external noise that you hear so that you can then begin to address and identify. If you're still hearing noise in your head, where's it coming from? Is it from you, you're within yourself, and why? What does that mean? But you can't even begin to address that when you still have all the external chaos, noise, people in every different direction. Heaven forbid if you are occupying several different roles. You have different people from different groups that are trying to pull on you. If you're a parent, you have your children. If you're married, you have your spouse. If you're close with your family members, your siblings, your parents, you're at work, if you're a business owner, your employees, your team, your neighbors, I mean, the list can go on. And if you don't shut that noise down and really go inward and really clarify, you most definitely cannot find your voice. And so I really commend you on taking advantage of this time and, you know, kind of dialing in and saying, what does Nicole think and what does Nicole want and where does Nicole want to go? That's so important during this time.
Can I add something?
Yeah, I was just going to call you because I saw you leaning in and I was like, Elaine, I know you've got
So what Nicole said, so I work with clients and journaling, I have something called Paint Your Life. It could be music, it could be dance. It's just to express yourself and get that inner. I have also, people have contacted me, you're not on LinkedIn now. And no, because I have a lot of things going on in my life. So I have, you know, I have to back off. And what have I done? I've been painting because I love that. My daughter was telling me that. I said, oh, I can't get internet. I haven't had internet for 14 days because it's been, maybe that's something good. You know, how do you live without internet? We have to do it. So my daughter was saying, oh, I have been moving. And she said, but I have to work. And she said, well, moving is also work. And I'm like, yeah, it's true. And she said, painting, it's also work. It's just, how do we see it? And I'm like, yes, she's right. Because what have we said? What is work? But yesterday I was painting a whole apartment and I loved it. First I said, oh my God, I have to do it. And I loved it. And I loved it even more. And I put on music and I was dancing. And I'm like, yes, because maybe this is what I require, because a lot of things has happened in the last few months, like Nicole said, and like Dimitri said. You know, we go through stages, and to find my voice, I have some of my family in Lebanon, my oldest son, where the explosion was. We have lost people there. And when people come to me here in Sweden, I said, you know, we are so lucky. There are children that are not finding their parents. I have someone close to me who died. And I'm like, we don't have all these things. They have had COVID. They were financially broken. And now they have a country that is collapsing. And I just have to, I can't be on social media. I have to be on social media because I'm trying to help away. My daughter, she's crying because she is half Lebanese. She's like, I want to do more. And I said, you are doing more. Through her social media, she's helping children find their parents and this. And I said, that's also helping. That is also helping. And she said, I'm angry. I said, what if you turn that anger into love instead? Because it's so easy to get angry. The whole world, we are angry because there's so much happening. But are we doing the best when we are angry? Or if we do it with love? Mm. So, you know, I'm so happy to come here today because, you know, my internet is working and I'm getting on here because this is what feeds me. But right now, yes, I'm going to be ready to get back to LinkedIn because I know people reach out. But sometimes we have to just step back and take care of ourselves, because if we don't take care of ourselves, what can we offer? You know, post twice a day and this and whatever. No. And people are like, are you okay? I said, there's things and people who need me right now, physically and mentally, that I'm there with them, you know, when their houses have collapsed. Can I be there and just listen to them because they are scared? And when you're scared, you do things and, you know, just listen to people because there are so many things in the world happening. But we're not going to give up. I'm not going to give up. And I hear all of you, you are not going to give up. And we just have to find that strength. And if it's for us to journal in a book, that's really good. Just writing it down, recording it, painting, dancing, singing, because we can find that voice and find our inner voice, I believe. Thank you, Ola.
Okay, I'm sorry. I have to pull Edward back in because, Elaine, you said something about it's important to take care of yourself. And Edward put up a post yesterday about that very thing. And so, Edward, I'm interested to get your take on what she just shared.
Well, everything starts from within. And I've known a lot of very giving people over my life that failed to take care of themselves. And although they thought they were doing so much good, the reality was they could have been doing so much better. Mm-hmm. Until we take care of here, our home, we don't have the capacity to take care of anyone else to the best of our ability. Sure, you can pour from a glass that's half full, but before you know it, it's empty. And for me, it's about constantly filling. And when asked the question, I'm not a glass half full person. I'm a glass mostly full person. That's just the way I want to look at the world. And I look at the world that way because I learned at a very young age that the better I take care of myself, the better I am for everyone around me. So we do need to make adjustments to accommodate those that we love. But it isn't about giving things up that take care of ourselves because it does nobody any good. A little example, and I mean, it's a little example. When my first child was born, my son Eric was born, I used to train 6 days a week for decades. And when he was born, I stopped training on weekends because I wanted my weekends to make sure I had downtime, family time. And listen, I was very fortunate in what I did for most of my life. I owned my time for the most part. So I was home a lot more than most people are, even during the week. But weekends, I gave that up. So Monday to Friday, I changed that 6-day program down to 5 days. Now, not a big thing, but I was still able to look after myself and be there for everyone I felt that needed me.
I like that. And making sure that we don't tear ourselves down when we have to step back and take care of ourselves is important. And I know, Paula, you have definitely shown the importance and have demonstrated incredible strength, especially in our one-on-ones, our DMs. We haven't actually had a one-on-one yet, but we've been DMing one another a lot. And what you've been sharing with me just totally exudes the strength that comes from knowing the importance of taking care of yourself. So how do you see that the fact that you embrace taking care of yourself helps you with projecting and showing up so that people can hear your voice, Paula's voice? How does that fit in there?
Because I don't know, my first thought right now is when we're young, depending on what you're brought into in the world, you're born into, you can't navigate those circumstances. They're just the way it is. Your internal monologue is already happening and we start to question the world that we live in. There is that internal voice. This little person that you're born is so pure and so untarnished that when we grow, these things just start chalking on the chalkboard of life. And one day you just realize your board is full and you will collapse if you don't erase it. So you need to pull out the eraser and start making room and letting go of things. Whatever you hold on to is just going to hold you back. You can't move on. If you don't see yourself as a priority and realize that it's not selfish, because a lot of us do so, that it's okay to step back. It takes years for some people. We don't realize the impact of things around us. I mean, it took me so many years to actually start using the voice of reason, the one that made sense to me, the one I didn't ignore anymore. That voice is the one we want to get back to, that pure voice inside that's still that, like I think of this little girl, this little child inside of me. And she's the one that's like, you remember me? Like, listen to me, spend some time with me. If you don't spend some time with yourself and take care of yourself, how can you be there for anybody else? It's just not possible. We go around in life and we have these things that happen to us and we all know what pain is. That pain is the introduction where you can find that voice. I can just say that it's a moment of truth when you really hit the ground hard, and when that inner monologue starts talking, you really got to pay attention, else you're not going to be able to do it. I don't know. I could say so much, and I agree with like so many smart people here and just empowering things that are being said. It's just incredibly amazing. But yourself, you need that relationship to see the internal dignity that you're born with. It is the birthright. It's what I keep pounding out there. Journaling, something I've done off and on. I do it in here too. I live journal or I write things down. It became a point where I went to LinkedIn and I just started journaling live. Those poems that came to be, they're just like everyday thoughts that I inquire about. And if I don't understand something or I question about it, I'm sure there's other humans that are too, or have gone through something. And, you know, I'm not here to give advice. I'm here to show that something works. There is some hope. So everybody works differently. We all have a different formula of what works for us. What works for me is not going to be the same for somebody else. But we can pick and choose from different experiences or ideas, but we all get that our own aha moment, so to speak, of what works. When it works, you're going to do it. And then you just want to share the hope, the inspiration about it. Yeah.
I think that's good. I think it's absolutely beautiful what you just shared. And Kenyatta, I see you looking kind of almost deep in thought as Paula was sharing. What are your thoughts about what it means to find your voice?
I was just deep in thought. Well, good morning, everyone, or wherever you are, afternoon, early morning here. I was just thinking about everything that was being said. It's a lot. You know, I've been kind of listening. I popped in a little bit late, so apologize for being late. And I didn't know if I would even make it today, but I did. I'm glad, because listening to all of you is just such an inspiration of thought and feelings and emotions and just life, you know, in general. It's, you know, you get to choose who you want to surround yourself with for the most part. And so I like to surround myself with amazing people whenever I get a chance, even if it is through the computer screen. So I'm just happy to be here. I guess the question you're asking me is about finding your voice. Is that
Yes.
That's the question, Karen?
Yes, yes.
As in how to do that, or what do I think about doing it in general?
Yeah, just in general, what does that mean to you, finding your voice?
I mean, I guess I was going to say simply, but it's not simple. Finding a way to be honest with yourself. And that's it. I think that if you can truly be honest with yourself, then that will help you find the voice. But that in itself is not simple. That's very difficult for people to do for many reasons. Actually, 6 just came to mind real quick, and it just hit me just as I was saying out of my mouth, because of fear. So Napoleon Hill says there's 6 ghosts of fear that stop us from doing anything. And I think it just translates to me what I just said about not being honest with yourself in order to find your voice. And why might we not? Why might we have such a struggle? Why do people have such a struggle in finding their own voice? And it's because of some level of fear. And the 6 ghosts of fear, he says, are fear of poverty, fear of criticism, which comes next, poverty, criticism, fear of ill health, death, and old age. And those are what he says, these are all the fears that we have are under those 6 somewhere. And they cause us to do all kinds of things or not to do certain things. So when it comes to finding a voice, you know, it's like you have to overcome which one of those fears is stopping you from finding your voice, and then I guess sharing it if you chose to, because the reason you wouldn't share it is probably fear of criticism. The reason you wouldn't find it is because you're not thinking in terms of what the reality is of what you feel. You may be having ideas come in from other people. What did Nicole say? Other people's other people's thought, or other people's something, she said, you know, like having that idea that we're taking in what other people are saying, so we have a hard time identifying what we want truly. So I guess that's what I think about finding your voice, is having to be truly honest with yourself. If you can overcome all of the fears that are stopping you from being honest with yourself, and then choosing to share, because you don't have to share your voice, it's not required, but someone might tell you should. You know, we've probably told people you should share. Well, maybe I shouldn't. You know, that's why. You know what I mean? Like I get to pick why I think I should or not. You know, but oftentimes, again, we embody the spirits of others and other people's thoughts and emotions and feelings about what we should be doing, and so then we fear criticism if we don't do what they said that we should do. You know, I mean, it just goes around and around, right? So I think the conscious thing is to be consciously aware of just even that fact, and try to be honest with yourself, as painful and fearful and horrifying that can be, you know, to really look hard in the mirror, because it's not a comfortable thing and most people shy away from it. They'd rather not look that close. It's easier not to.
Yeah, since Edward's no longer here, I can say this. The older you get, the easier it is to not care and to just speak out and share your voice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what Karen said, it's messy. Yes, it's messy. It is messy. So that's what I would share.
Now I see that we're getting close to the end here, but we also have Scotty on the line who I don't think you've had an opportunity to share with us before. So Scotty, I hope you don't mind me putting you on the spot here, but we would love to hear your thoughts if you have a moment on what it means to find your voice. Scotty, is he still
It
here?
depends on if he's still awake, because it's like 1 a.m. for Scotty.
Hi, Scotty.
Hey, he's still awake.
I know, you've been so patient. You've been so patient towards all of this. What does it mean to you to find your voice?
I'm just doing a bit of research while we're here on stuff, and I'm listening in the background as I do it. So I've been half in, half out, just to be honest with you.
That's okay.
I was lying in bed and I went, oh yeah, I'll get up, I'll have a listen.
Thank you.
Yes, we appreciate that. We know it's like the middle of the night or something like that for you, right?
It's now midnight.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm just listening in on everyone, so I won't get too involved in on it because it's only my first session. But it's tough to come up at midnight. I know what it's like. But I've been on for about 45 minutes. So I'm not sure if you noticed when I got there. Yeah. Dimitri said hi. I sent back a message saying hi, Dimitri. But I'll let everyone else keep talking. I won't. My wife's upstairs asleep, so I won't keep talking.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us, Scotty. It's great to see your face and have your stop in and say hi.
So I'll keep listening.
Kenyatta likes to do that too. She pops in to say
hi. I wanted to, I forgot a fear. I just put it in the chat. Loss of love of someone is the 6th fear. That's the, I only named 5. That's the 6th one that will cause you to not do something because of the fear of losing the love of someone. And that, I think, it has a lot to do with finding your voice as well. So.
It can, Kenyatta, it can also spur that on, because I'll share with you an example of my firstborn son. It's really important to him that I'm proud of him. I mean, he's almost 36 years old. And even to this day, he's coming back to me to get my feedback and approval. Although he is so smart, so accomplished as an intellectual property lawyer in Silicon Valley, doing, some high-end deals with people, that he has achieved some great success as an individual, but in his own heart, he wants the approval of his father. And, we have, in some sense, a responsibility to our children to give them that feedback and encourage them so they continue to grow and become the people that we hope they will become.
I love that you say that. What we instill in our children definitely will affect how they look at things. The fear itself freezes you. I learned that when I was in a domestic situation. I was talking to a counselor and I said, I have a psychology degree. How is it possible that I knew of this kind of thing and it still happened to me? Mm-hmm. And she said, fear freezes you. Mm-hmm. And I looked at her, my mouth opened up and I went, oh my God, you don't move. You just stay in a situation because you're so terrified and scared. When you realize that fear can be conquered, it's just a thought. When you put away expectations and overcome that, you can move. When you move, there's less chance of fear. You just keep going. You just keep getting up. You just keep facing that fear and saying, you know what? You're a thought, get out of here. And like, as for going for your parents' approval, sure, we all do it. I still do. And I think a year ago, I stopped because I wasn't getting it. Everything I wanted from my parents in approval, I wasn't getting. And it made me have a lot of anxiety. Once I said, forget it, I'm just going to live my life. I don't need your approval anymore. Then I moved on. But I mean, you're going to get it from some people, you're not from others. But if you give yourself the stamp of approval and conquer the fear, nothing can stop you.
Yes. Well said.
I think that's finally what happened to me, and I use this for a lot of my other stories and my content. Is I always looked for the approval and even just acknowledgement from my father, who was never there for me. My parents were divorced when I was very young, and for years I was chasing after him, you know, hey, get to know me. And then finally, it wasn't until I had my first child that I said, you know, enough's enough. Like I love myself enough. I am a great person, and I don't want my children to go through the same thing. So that, you know, yearning for his acknowledgement, that's always been one of the kind of foundations of sharing my stories with other people, is that you have to have self-love for yourself before anything else, and stop going after the wrong toxic people in your life just to get acknowledgement, when all you need is your own acknowledgement.
I'm going to say, to hear your inner voice, you have to, I just lost my train of thought. You have to hear your inner voice through the noise and all the clutter that's around you. So you have to block that out and really hear what's going on.
Steve, I want to just piggyback to your point about the approval, because my daughter's the same way. She kind of like, and I think it lends to the confidence and everything, you know, the self-love. Everybody's talking about self-love and everything, but sometimes kids, you know, they have to learn to develop it, and maybe sometimes looking for a parental approval is how they're going to get the confidence. So us saying to them, you're doing a great job, I'm proud of you, will then help them, you know, gain the confidence to know that, you know what, yes, I can do this on my own. I don't need, you know, mom to say, you know, it's great that she says it, but it's not a need. But it's also, we're talking about finding a voice, you know, and Steve, you're talking about the approval, and the approval is one thing, but it's also that they can come to us. And you know, finding a voice as adults is I don't want to say it's easy, but you know, we've been through experiences and things like that. But I think finding your voice as a child and from a parent perspective is, and having, so that they find their voice as adults, is having them say, you know what, here's an open space that you can come talk to me, whatever it may be about. It's an open forum. Dimitri, to your point earlier, education, you said your mother had you in adult conversations. When I grew up, children were seen, not heard. You know what I mean? And so I flip that now, and I don't do that at all with my kids. She's 19 tomorrow, he's 14, my son, and they're in adult conversations. They have opinions. We debate, you know, the presidential debate coming on, and different opinions and things like that. And I think it's important for them to have that voice, even with others, not just their parents, so that they know they can be seen, they can be heard, not just seen.
Folks, this has been another great conversation. We're past the hour, so if you need to drop off and move on, feel free to do so. We love having you. We will keep the conversation open for a little bit longer for those that want to stick around and continue to talk. We love the conversations. We always hate ending it, but at the same token, while we might be able to go all day, all of us have different things we probably need to get on to.
I have to run, so I'm going to say goodbye. I enjoyed it. It was good seeing everyone.
Well,
take care.
Guys. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye. Do you have a topic for next week? Bye, Lori.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Do you have a topic for next week?
we have some things that circle out in our minds, but we're always appreciate feedback from you guys if there's something that you think would make a good topic for the group.
And I'm not just saying this because I do health and wellness. I'm really not, I promise you this. but Edward talked about it. Paula was talking about it. And even in conversations, we were all talking about pouring from an empty cup and self-care and self-love and confidence. You know, finding your voice could, you know, health and wellness plays a part in that. And health and wellness is not just about nutrition. It's also about something like this, who you're surrounding yourself and stuff like that. So I kind of, if you know, I think it could be like all encompassing. So if you don't have a topic, or if you want to think about that being a topic, I don't think that's a bad topic, because it kind of lends to a lot of the stuff we were talking about today.
Yeah, but there's mind, body, and soul.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So
I actually call that, I have a series on that called BAM, Body, Heart, and Mind. Because if they don't all connect, you're not going to be overall qualified.
I just did a panel yesterday for a local YMCA here, and I talked about personal development and how, you know, that's part, you know, your mind is part of health, if you will. So I think that may not be a bad thing to talk about, because it lends to finding your voice. It kind of blends into everything that we were kind of talking about here today. So that's why I wanted to bring it up.
The mind over matter, the power of the mind. If the mind goes, the body follows, because your mind is so powerful when it comes to health in all levels. If you have an illness, your mental outlook will change the outcome as well. Mm-hmm. It's so powerful. Your mind is where everything rests. What you choose to believe is the action. So when you choose to believe certain thoughts that aren't real, that's what you become. Those thoughts aren't real. What you act upon is, and that affects your overall health. When you let your heart lead, it's going to be a lot better. So you want to choose the good stuff that's in there. I mean, bam, right?
Yeah, definitely. That would make a great topic. Does anybody else have topics that you think we should consider?
I thought we were talking, okay, forgive me. I thought it was this group. I think it was this group. We were talking about legacy.
We did.
I like that one too.
We did talk a little bit about legacy on the last call. We did touch on that a little bit, and I definitely am a strong advocate of legacies, and I think it might be something that we should consider talking about on another call, because I think the more people that are aware of, you know, their legacies, what it is right now, even while you're still in the land of the living, the fact that you have the opportunity to change if you don't like the legacy that you've already created, how all those things that are wrapped into that, I think that would be a great conversation piece. But I'm one person, so you know, if you guys agree, that definitely we will consider that down the road.
And you're hitting upon something, Karen, when, you know, one of the things we've chosen to do is rotate the time so various people in different, you know, regions can join in. And yeah, we may have a conversation at 9 p.m. that you guys can't attend, and you miss that topic, so to speak. So probably circling back through some of those topics at different times might be a good move as well.
And also, Steve, a shameless plug here, but Steve is also posting these calls on YouTube. So if somebody says something during one of these calls that you thought was like really rich, it resonated deep with you, but you don't remember exactly what they shared, you can definitely go to YouTube and then watch it again, and you'll be able to catch that piece there, and as well as for the calls that you may not have been on.
I didn't know that, so thank you for sharing that.
These are on YouTube?
They're on YouTube under my
I didn't know that. You need to plug that more. I had no idea. I legitimately had no idea. Your story Saturday, Steve. Couldn't you make that?
So he's got it listed. He's got it listed under. Is it just positivity chats or the positivity chat? I don't remember which. We have it.
Yeah, the channel is Positivity Chats. So I'm putting together a new newsletter that we'll probably send out next week. So look for that in your email. It will have, again, some of the times, future times, as well as one of the suggestions Karen made was to put links in there to some of these conversations on YouTube. So I'll try and make sure I do that. Anything else people want to bring up?
And you know what,
guys, I've missed all of your beautiful faces, by the way. Missed you.
Karen, we were talking in the beginning before anybody came on about, dropping your kids off at college and, the transition. So maybe a topic can also be like, going through transitions, if you will. Dropping what kind of transitions do you go through? Because because Ariane made a very good point about going through a transition. I've been there. I know that feeling well. And even somebody like myself, I was in corporate America. I found health and wellness, and that became something that I transitioned to more so than advertising, which I worked in. So transitioning in some way, shape, or form could also be an interesting topic.
And that could also be an interesting collaboration.
Yep.
I mean, Karen, those of you that have gone through that, we could say, hey, let's post a post related to this topic on this day.
Yep. I think that's, and then we can kind of tie it into the call. I think that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant minds.
I'm like your advertisement. I'm like your walking advertisement. I tell everybody about this thing.
Thank you, Karen.
Well, that's how I got here.
In fact, if any others would be open to doing like a
video.
30 to 60-second testimonial about what you've gotten from these calls, we would be honored and would be delighted to have you do that for us, because our goal is to be able to get as many people to embrace this idea of having these safe spaces. I mean, we can't accommodate the whole world and we can't change the whole world, but we definitely can start working in the corners where we show up at. And so if you know someone who you think might, benefit from being a part of this environment, please feel free to share it with them and tell them it's an open invitation. Steve is the one who's managing the invites because he knows that I would forget with all the different roles that I wear. But definitely. And also, if you would like to have a one-on-one with Steve or myself, definitely I'll be reaching out to each of you. If we have not gotten on a one-on-one yet, expect at some point that is going to happen, that you're going to hear from me on that. Dimitri, I haven't forgotten about you. And I really enjoy the one-on-ones because it gives me an opportunity to get to know you even more so, and you get to know me a little bit more, but mostly I get to hear your story. That's what I love so much, is hearing your story and giving you the opportunity to share it however you feel comfortable with. I have found so many people since I've been doing these one-on-ones, since we started this journey, Steve and I have been so blown away at the amazing stories that I am being able to be privy to. And I thank you guys for trusting me and feeling comfortable enough to open up and share what you have. And Ariane, I'm gonna put you on, I'm gonna call you out for a second, because I can't tell you how much, I'm just gonna say it, how proud I am of you from the first call that you were on. I mean, and after you and I had our one-on-one and seeing how you show up, it just, I feel like a proud mom. I don't know that I did anything at all, and yet at the same token, I remember you were very quiet, and not that you, I don't know, it's just such a difference that I see in you, and it's so powerful how you show up, and you have a commanding presence. And I just want to continue to edify you and encourage you to keep doing what you're doing, because that is what's going to continue propelling you forward to where you are called to be. And show up as you are, and know that even if you don't say 2 words, and this isn't just for you, it's for everybody on these calls, when we show up as we're supposed to be, and then we open our mouths, what comes out is powerful. It is uplifting. It is encouraging. It is empowering. It is empowering to others, and it is empowering to ourselves. And so thank you, Ariane, for allowing me to just kind of shine a little bit on you, because every time I see you and I hear you inside, I'm just bursting with joy. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is exactly why we created this space. We wanted to see those types of transformations. And so thank you.
Well, thank you. I just want to say this group is helping me find my inner voice.
And that is very obvious.
Yes.
Like Karen was saying, from the first call to the day, it is great to see you sharing your voice.
Well, it's such a great group, and you get inspired by everyone here.
Yes, yes. And Jen, I would be remiss if I didn't also throw in my 2 cents on telling you how powerful, not only just you sharing what you've shared with us today, but also letting you know that when you do share your story of your journey, don't be surprised by how many people flood your doorway, because it is powerful. And people, when they begin to make that real connection and they see you, because you are so authentic, it is very moving. And it brings them into a space that they probably didn't even know that they needed to be brought into. And it changes the way that they think moving forward. So I definitely, like everyone else on this call, I encourage you to share your voice. And when any doubts of like fear start to creep in, you just tell them, hey, I'm the one who's in control. I'm in charge. I'm doing this. I don't care what anybody says, because I'm making a difference. I'm showing up today. This is my opportunity to let others know what I've been through. And you're going to find a bunch of people. Some people that know you now will be kind of surprised. And they're going to be people that you've never met before, who are going to reach out to you, and they're going to want to have more conversations with you. And people are going to be expressing so much concern and support and love. They want to pour that back into you so that they can help you on your journey, help you to continue to be refreshed and restored. So thank you for trusting us in this space to share what you have. It's an honor.
Yeah, and I know in my heart that there's so many other people who are going through this and they need to hear it, and I just have to get past that little bit of fear that I have right now. So it's getting there, and I know, like I said, in my heart, I have to do it. So we'll do it. We'll do it.
Jen, we're very glad to have you join us, and we hope that you'll join us again.
Absolutely.
A community of support for you as you, again, work on finding your voice and how to share that out.
Thank you, everybody.
Any other thoughts people have?
I'm just going to say, Jen, you know what? There's always that hesitation. When you write it all out, it's all ready to go. And part of you just says, I can't do this. I can't do this. Once you hit send, within minutes, oh my God, it does come back. You find love and support and encouragement and thank yous, and you touch other lives when you share. To me, when I started sharing my story and adding pieces of me out there, oh my God, it was incredible. From someone who didn't want to live, who was walking around in a shell, to someone who's here now, this supported everything I've ever wanted to do in helping others. And if they get to know a piece of you, that piece of your heart, it just fulfills your whole heart. It really is phenomenal. I mean, instant sweat is there. You're just like, oh my God, I can't do this. But the minute you do it, it's done. Walk away, tell yourself you are living the real you. This is your truth, your life, your story. That's all that matters. That's all that matters. And it helps.
Thank you.
It does. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Hey everyone, it was an honor talking to you all.
Yeah. Yes. Have a great rest of the day, Omo, because you're in the afternoon. I think.
Yeah, it's 4 p.m. here.
Oh, and Helene, you're in the afternoon also. So the two of you.
Yeah, I think we're on the same
Yeah,
grid.
we are.
Yes.
Yes. So,
lots of love to all of you. Thank you for being you, and continue being you, because that's the only thing we can be.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Bye.
you.